Good afternoon, Stampers. It's Debbie with Stamp It with Debbie, and I'm live today with the stamp set Best Catch out of the Occasions catalog. And today I want to show you 3 projects to create using this stamp set and coordinating thinlits. Let me just get set up over on my other page here, and while that's getting set up here, if you would just hit the like button or leave me a comment, I would really appreciate it so we can see who's on here and where everybody might be from. And also don't forget to share. Even if you're watching the replay, you can share, and then your friends and family can also see some of the fun things that we're creating with this stamp set. So I don't know if you saw this stamp set in the catalog. I haven't seen a lot done with it, but I really liked it, and I'm just going to show it to you here in the catalog. It's on page 44, and it has this stamp set also called Crackle paint, and I'm going to be using that today too. And so of course inside of the Best Catch there is a very nice large fish, there's a fisherman, a bag, and then inside of the thinlits, oops, there's also a little piece that I have one cut out here, I'll show you. Has little cattails there. Lots of the pieces are coordinating. This coordinates with the fisherman. This coordinates with the fish. There are a couple extra little fish that don't have a stamp, but would look nice hanging from a fishing pole or a piece of twine or something to look like they're hanging from a fishing pole. And then these pieces also all coordinate with stamps in the set. So there are 9 framelits in here. We're just going to be using the fish one today. Oh, actually we won't be using this one, but I did cut the piece out already so that you didn't have to watch all of the big shot work. So I'm going to keep that piece out. And let's just give people just a minute to get logged on here. And again, this is the Best Catch. And while I get set up here real quick, I want to remind you that if you place an order through my online store, I will send you the make and take kits for today, or the projects, although I won't be able to send you one of them, and I'll explain a little bit later why I can't send it, but I will send you a card in replacement of that make and take project. You just need to be sure and use this host code and go to my online store at stampitwithdebbie.stampinup.net. So I think we'll give everybody just another minute here to go ahead and sign on. And I'm hoping, I know we've been talking a lot about the weather, I'm hoping that you all are not in an area that has a lot of really bad weather right now. I'm just going to play with my lighting just real quickly here. I know we are in an area that's supposed to get freezing rain and snow tomorrow, and then by this weekend it's supposed to be nearly 40. So that's crazy Michigan for you, and I know some of the other states are right around us are doing the same thing. They have the same kind of weather going on, so it's kind of crazy, but just remember it's almost spring, so that's a good thing. And then we'll see all of those flowers popping out of the ground, and we'll be able to enjoy, for us, the robins coming back and the birds chirping, and I'm looking forward to that. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'll show you the projects that we're going to create using the stamp set. This is the first one, and this is using the Crackle paint background. This is one that I created that's a little more simple but still very beautiful. And then the last thing I wanted to show you is sometimes our stamps don't have to stamp just on cards. I wanted to show you that we can stamp on some other things. And today I'm stamping on a couple travertine tiles. And if you use StazOn ink and our blender pens, this won't scrub off. You don't need to bake it in the oven. You don't need to spray it with anything to keep it waterproof. The Stampin' Blends markers and the StazOn ink will keep that set for you. So let's get started. We're going to create this one first. And what you need for that is a piece of early espresso paper, and I did make this the long way. This is cut at 4 1/4 by 11. We scored at 5 1/2. I'm using some of the, in case you missed it in the catalog, it's wood texture designer paper, and it comes in 6 by 6. And it has lots of different, this one's just the end of a bunch of logs, but there's lots of different, there's some light papers, some dark papers. Of course, they're all two-sided. They make really nice backgrounds for your cards, and like I said, they're all two-sided. So that's a nice pack of paper to have. So you need a piece of that cut at 4 by 5 1/4. You need a piece of shaded spruce cut at 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. A piece of espresso cut at 2 inches by 2 inches. A piece of white cut at 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And then also in the catalog, I believe this was the Christmas catalog, there's something called braided linen trim. And it's linen thread, but it's braided, of course, and it lays flat. So it's very nice to add to the fronts of your card so that it doesn't get knotted up or create a lot of bulk on your cards. So that's what this is, and we're going to be using this. We're also going to be using crumb cake ink. Oops, not crumb cake ink, soft suede ink. And we're also going to be using Stays On the Tuxedo Black. And we have a couple pearls right here that I did color using my soft suede blender pen. And I have colored those already, so they have just a second to dry. So let's go ahead and assemble our card. I'm just looking at the comments real fast. Carol says they're getting rain right now in Conklin. My office is in my basement, so I haven't been outside. Last time I was out, it was kind of warm, and it wasn't raining yet, though. All right, I'm going to go ahead, because I'm not stamping anything on this piece. I'm just going to put a little adhesive and put the espresso square inside of the shaded spruce. Now, before I adhere this, I want to do this stamping here, and I also want to put on my braided trim. So I'm going to get a little bit of ink on my Fisher guy here, and I'm just going to stamp them in the background. Oh, that one didn't come out real well. I'm wondering if my... All right, let's trade inks. We're going to use early espresso. I think that my soft suede might be running out. So that's the nice thing about this. On the back is the same paper. This side is a little lighter, it looks like. There we go. He shows up a little bit better. Looks like I need to ink both of those up just a little bit. We also want to, I don't know what this is. This is a hook, but fly fishing, I don't know. If somebody knows, let me know, because I used to fish with my dad sometimes, but I mostly just like to go just to relax. I didn't really like to catch the fish. I just like to, the feeling of relaxing. So, yeah, he probably, I don't think I made a lot of noise. I just didn't really catch anything. Okay, we're going to use, I had put it on my block for something else, but I need to get It's Your Day back out. I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to stamp right over this. There we go. I'm going to wipe that off real quick, just so I don't stick my hand in the ink. And then we can attach this piece. I'm going to close my ink pad before I get my hand in that too, or my project, worst my project. I'm going to put this right on the front here. Now, as I told you, I did color a couple of my pearls. So I'm going to put those right here. I like to start in the center so I know where to place the other ones. And you can color pearls, rhinestones, anything glass, anything metal with your Stampin' Blends markers. I like to color all kinds of things just to make them match my cards and projects a little better. So there's that. And now we can, actually we're going to need some dimensionals. So I'll put those on the back right now while I have this turned over here. And then once we get ready to put it all together, we can do that. Now to do the weave ribbon, we're going to, I cut a piece of this about 16 inches long, and I'm going to start on that end. So I'm going to turn it over and put a little bit of adhesive and just catch it right in there. I'm going to bring it around and bring it around again. Well, easier said than done. All right, now I want to pull it kind of tight, but not too tight that it buckles the paper. And then I need to put a little more adhesive there so that I can grab this here. And then I'm going to put adhesive on the back of this so that I can go ahead and attach it to my card front. And I do like to put a little bit of adhesive just on the back of the ribbon a little, or the twine, just to kind of secure it down. All right, that's on the front now, and then all we need to do is take this piece and put it right there. So it's your day. It could be a Father's Day card, it could be a birthday card, it could be someone is retiring, so that's their day. So there's that card. What do you think? I'm trying to, as I explained to you before, do a little bit of simple stamping. Yeah, Carol said her dad always said, you catch it, you clean it. I think that's why I didn't catch anything, because I didn't want to have to clean it. Although I did clean it sometimes. I did clean it sometimes, but I didn't like it at all. Okay. So the next card we're going to do is this one here. And let me grab my supplies. For this one, I'll set that over there. You're going to need a piece of crumb cake cardstock cut at 8.5 by 5.5. We're going to need a piece of Mossy Meadow cut at 2 inches by 5.5. This is a lot of little pieces, but when they go together very quickly. This piece is crumb cake cut at 2 by 2 3/4. Mossy Meadow cut at 2 1/4 by 3. You need a piece of scrap white to cut the fish out. A piece of crumb cake cut at 1 inch by 3 inches. A piece of whisper white cut at 1/2 inch by 3 inches. And a piece of mint macaron cut at 1/2 inch by 3 inches. I also, as I told you, cut this piece out so that you didn't have to mess around watching me do that, because this card does have a few things going on here. I also wanted to tell you that I'm using another stamp set in addition to the Crackle background, and that's this one here. I'm using Itty Bitty Birthdays, and this has lots and lots of sayings on it. Happy birthday, birthday wishes, they say it's your birthday, at least you'll always be younger than me. Lots and lots of great, there's even a happy belated, happy belated birthday. Another one that says you're growing up. So I just think it's an awesome, this is available in the Occasions catalog. So we're going to be using that for our greeting. So the first thing we need to do is we're going to go ahead and fold our card in half. And then when I use a background stamp, I usually get the clear one, not a block, and I don't get a block for it. I just set it down on the table, and then I'm going to bring my ink pad right to, I'm hoping I'm right in the middle there, bring it right to the stamp, the background stamp. And now I'm stamping right on the front of my card base, so I just want to bring it down right in the middle. You don't get a second chance, so just set it down. And then the trick I have is just put a scrap piece of paper over the top. That way you're getting good coverage, but you're not getting any ink on your hands. So we'll lift this one up, and this is all crackled. We have one more piece that we need to do on the crackle, and it's right here. So I'm going to ink this up one more time. And actually, I didn't, but I think I'm also going to crackle. I didn't on the other one, but I'm going to crackle this piece too. So I'm going to set that down very carefully. I'm going to set this one down very carefully. Bring my scrap paper over. I'm done with my ink, so I'm going to put that away. And then both of my pieces will have crackle. And then I just need to wash my background stamp off. The other thing that we need to stamp is our fish. And so we're going to use our, I'm going to set those pieces aside so I can get all the stamping done. We're going to use our fish and our Memento ink because we're going to use our Stampin' Blends markers. And just stamp right in the middle. I like to hold it down for just a second to make sure all the ink transfers off of the stamp. And then this one I'm going to do Can't Believe You're Another Year Older. So I'll go ahead and stamp that just so we can get all the stamping out of the way. I think I got to pull that off camera just, there we go, so that I don't get it real crooked. There wasn't a lot of room for error on that one because it was such a small piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut the banner out of this edge just so that I have it done. And then that part's done. And then now what we need to do is color our fish in. I looked up the image of a bass, and to the best of what I could figure out, I'm using dark soft seafoam and I'm using light old olive. So I'm going to really just color the bottom part of the fish in the seafoam. And you could color the whole thing, but it's not necessary because we're gonna use the blender pen to go over this part. So if you went over those areas a little, it wouldn't matter. And don't worry if you go over just a little, because I'm going to show you how to blend those two colors together just a little. I'm going to come down his nose and on the front there. And then I want to get this fin and his tail with the old olive. And I'm going to kind of bring it up a little bit. I'm using my brush tip because then I'm going to show you. You want to take not the brush tip but the marker side and just kind of go along that edge, and that's going to bring a little bit of the old olive into the area of the soft seafoam and kind of blend it together and give you a smoother blend of the two. And even if you wanted to, you could take a little more. I think I'll take a little more green down here. And actually I might do a little down here too. blending will not make one color bleed onto the other color. So there's no worry that the old olive is going to get onto the soft seafoam for your next project. You can go ahead and just wipe your marker off a little bit, write on a clear piece of paper a little bit if you're worried about it, but it shouldn't bleed at all. Now we do need to cut this fish out, and we need to also emboss this piece, and we're using the corrugated textured Dynamics embossing folder. So I have my Big Shot, and for the embossing folder, I found that this one has it's really deep embossing folder. And all of the dynamic embossing folders, you can spritz your piece of paper with water. The first time, so I'm not using any of the flaps. I open it up so that both of this flap, not flap 1 and 2, are both down. The first time I did it through with just one flap, and it embossed so hard that it cut the paper into like 10 pieces, however many little lines are there. So I decided not to put water on mine. Oops. I'm moving you around here. Oops, there we go. All right, now I'll need to close this up because we also need to cut our fish out. So I'm going to set that down. Put the fish down there. Let me get rid of this folder. And then we'll want to line this up. Now this folder does have this little piece here, and I'm going to show you in a second. It's pretty fun. It actually cuts the fin so that you could pop it up a little bit on the card. You could even take your bone folder and kind of go over it just a little bit so it would stick out a little more. And as I said, this piece here, I also cut with that same Thinlits dies. I'm going to see, now previously I have cut pieces and put them over the cattail part, but I think I'm just going to, yeah, we can just color it. You could cut an extra piece using the framelit, cut it off, which is what I've done in the past, cut it off and then glue it right on there, but I just used one of my Stampin' Blends markers and colored it, so now it's going to be dark on there. I think I like that better. And look at this. This is the corrugated embossing folder. Isn't it beautiful? I love to add texture to my cards, and this one with the crackle and with just that little bit that's showing on this just adds so much to the card, I think. So we're ready to start assembling. So this would be the first part here, is putting the corrugated part on, and we want to get a good amount of adhesive because we'll have a few layers. I'm going to put that about center, and then we can go ahead and put adhesive on this crackle part and attach that here, and then we can add some adhesive to this. You could use your Tombow liquid glue. Today I'm just going to use my adhesive just to kind of hurry, and that's there. And we're going to go ahead and put this piece on before we put the rest on. And that just lines up right here at this edge. And when you get ready to put your other piece on, it will tuck right up under here. We'll want to put adhesive on our mint macaron. And that's just going to go right here. Just leave a little bit of an edge. And then same with the white piece that we stamped on. And you can have as much of that mint macaron showing or as little. And then we'll need some dimensionals on this piece. And we're just going to attach that and make sure that it's covering your raw edge of this. You can make it come over as far as you want to, or if you bring it over further, just a little more, the corrugated will show. And then we need to put some adhesive on the back of our fish and make sure that it's not covering your greeting at all. And then the last thing we need is some of the, mine fell off, so hopefully yours doesn't look like this. This is the old olive linen thread that's in the catalog right now. Oh, this could get ugly. Let's see if this one I brought it around twice, but I think this one, because it's not looking real pretty here, I'm going to see if I can get it to go around one time because it's really tangled. I think I'm going to have to untangle it and rewind it. I don't know how that happened. We just want to tie a knot up here. I'm sorry, a bow. Tie a bow up here. And then just cut it off so the ends are kind of the same. And if that gets too crazy, you can always use your bone folder to make it lay down a little bit. There we go. And you could put a glue dot under there as well if it's not stained the way you want it to. So here's this card. I made this one exactly the same, colored it in just a little bit different today, just because every single one is going to be different, because that's what happens when you're working with the Stampin' Blends markers. You get a different look every single time. So there's card number 2. So the last project, as I told you, is showing you how to stamp on tile. Now you can't do this on a smooth tile because it would wipe right off. There's probably tips and tricks about putting Mod Podge over something, but then if you put the Mod Podge over, in my mind, it's not going to absorb. This is travertine tile, and I got it at Home Depot. If you don't have a Home Depot near you, there might be one somewhere else. This is what the case looks like. I believe there are 10 in a pack. And I will tell you that be careful looking at the edges when you're purchasing, because sometimes the edges are broken. Some of the tiles are not usable. I'm going to show you one that I'll use it for my own self for doing something, but there are a lot of holes in this one, so it's kind of hard, and you're not going to find a package probably that you'll be able to use all 10 of them or whatever comes in the package. So let's set this aside. The other thing that I wanted to show you in order to use them for coasters is you're going to want to put a felt pad on the bottom. And this is just a regular felt pad like you would put on the bottom of your chairs, and this is what I used, just soft touch felt pads. You can get those at the hardware store or Home Depot, Hobby Lobby, Menards, wherever you have. So I put 4 of those on there, so it's all ready. And then you need to make sure to use Stays On ink. You have to use Stays On or it will not stay on. Now this particular one, I did not spray any kind of varnish or anything on it. I did put water on it and I scrubbed it with my kitchen scrubber. I've done this in the past. I have a couple other ones that I've made for myself. I was trying to find, I can't find it now. I had a turtle one because I love turtles. So I created a turtle one. So you want to ink this up really well using, again, the Stays On ink. Bring it down and hold it there for just a minute so the ink has a minute to transfer. Okay. Then we also are going to use, did somebody tell me what this is called? Nobody told me what this is. Okay, I'm just going to say the fish hook, and with these fancy feathers on the side. I think there's a name for it, but I don't know. Just to answer your question, Regina, you don't have to let it dry for a long time. I'm going to actually color this in here today. Let me get this hook on here. And then right now it's ready to color. Stays on, dries really fast. Stays on, you can stamp on glass or any other smooth surface and it will dry. Now I'm just going to do a disclaimer here. Stampin' Up! Does not promote the Stampin' Blends markers to color on anything but paper. You're blending on paper. So I will tell you that you may, after a while, your brush tip might wear down. So just remember that when you're using your markers. So I'm going to color this fish the same way that I colored the other one. And this, you have to kind of stay in the lines a little bit. Not necessarily geez, what am I saying? I can't even color and talk at the same time, because the other one you had a framelit to cut it out, and this one you don't have a framelit. Okay. And it's not going to be the same exact color as it is on paper, because now we're doing on the darker color. So it is going to be a little bit different color, and you can play with whatever markers you have. But like I said, just remember that it needs to be like you could do it with a Sharpie. A Sharpie wouldn't come off. And so this one, you're really not going to be able to do a lot of blending. So my fish isn't going to look as pretty as the other one did, but I'm still going to color in his fin and his tail with this darker color and bring it up the side a little bit. And kind of blend it just a little bit. And you could use the brush end if you want to blend it just a little more. Leave a little bit less of the light color. Let's see. We'll just blend it just a little more, and just to leave a little bit of light on this fish. All right, and then the last thing I need to do is color the feathers, and I thought I would use Bermuda Bay. Is this Bermuda Bay? Yes, light Bermuda Bay for that part. Thought I would add a nice pop of color on there just to add that. And there you go. And so before you put anything on it, I would let those dry just a little bit. But, and again, don't forget to put your coasters on the bottom, your felt pads on the bottom, so that whatever surface you're putting on, because this travertine tile is real scratchy. It's not like some of the smoother ones that you might be able to get away with putting those on something. It will scratch your surface. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer if you had any questions about that. Like I said, I have stamped on a lot of things, and I've never stamped with the Stampin' Blend marker on the travertine tile. I usually, well, here, I'm going to show you real quick. This is one I made in the past. So I just used a background stamp on the whole thing, and then I stamped black, so I actually didn't have to color anything at all. I just went ahead and stamped right on there. And I did find my turtle. Here's my turtle coaster. I love turtles. When I was in Florida, I volunteered at the turtle yard, so we used to have a turtle stamp, so of course I saved it, and I stamped 3 turtles on there and colored them in with the Stampin' Blend marker as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment me or private message me, whatever you need. This week, as I said, I'm not going to, if you missed it, I will not be able to mail you a tile, because I'm afraid once it gets in the envelope and the weight of that on top of the cardstock will bend the cardstock, and then you wouldn't be happy because you're not going to have anything to put together. So if you make a purchase through my online store and you get the make and take projects, I'm going to send you this card. I'll have it already made for you, and I'll stamp it and have the twine and everything on there already. So you'll get that one with these 2 cards as well. And once again, my host code this week is HPVQQSBC, And you can find my store at stampitwithdebbie.stampinup.net. If you would, I would greatly appreciate it if you would hit the share button so that more people will be able to see my video and I can share with them too. I really appreciate you stopping by today, and I hope to see you again next week for another Facebook Live featuring Stampin' Up! Products. Thank you and have a great day. See you soon.